An 8 is 2 circles. Look at it a moment longer, though, and it becomes something stranger. 2 complete worlds touching at a single point. 1 loop above, 1 loop below. And everything that wants to pass between them has to cross through that one narrow meeting place. Hold on to that image, because over the next few minutes, it's going to explain why this particular stretch of early August feels different from the weeks around it, and why you may have already noticed the number before you understood it. On a clock that read 8:08, in a total at the bottom of a receipt, on a page you happen to stop turning. Once a year, for a handful of days, that number stops being decoration. It becomes a date, a star, and a doorway all at once. And this year, the doorway doesn't open onto an empty room. Here's what's actually happening above your head right now, because none of this rests on vague talk about shifting energies. It rests on things you could verify with your own eyes if you woke before dawn and looked east. The sun is moving through Leo, the sign of the lion, of identity, vitality, and the courage to be seen. And Sirius, the brightest star in our entire night sky, is coming back. For roughly 70 days, it has been invisible. Not because it went anywhere, but because it rose and set alongside the sun, drowned inside a glare too bright to see past. In this first week of August, depending on where you stand on the Earth, Sirius begins rising just far enough ahead of the sun to flash briefly in the dawn before daylight swallows it again. Ancient Egyptian sky watchers built their entire year around that flash. When Sirius returned, the Nile rose, the fields drank, and a new cycle of life began. The star's reappearance was, quite literally, the announcement that abundance was on its way. Over the centuries, that return became woven together with the sun's passage through Leo, and modern spiritual tradition settled the peak of the window on the 8th day of the 8th month, the Lion's Gate. 8 for the day, 8 for the month, and 8 for the shape itself, because stand the symbol for infinity upright, and you are looking at an 8. Whether you read all of that as ancient wisdom or as beautiful coincidence, the astronomy underneath it is real. It is annual, and it is unfolding right now. And here's a detail that almost nobody mentions, one that makes the symbol almost eerie in its precision. Sirius is not a single star. It is 2, a brilliant primary and a small, dense companion, locked in orbit around a shared center of gravity, tracing endless loops around each other across a 50-year dance. Astronomers only confirmed the companion in the 1800s, yet the star humanity chose to mark this gate has always been, in physical fact, 2 circles bound at one invisible point. The sky, it turns out, drew the 8 before we did. But if the gate opens every year, why does this one deserve 20 minutes of your attention? Because of what's standing inside it. At the end of June, Jupiter, the planet astrologers have called the Great Benefic for 2,000 years, the amplifier, the magnifier of whatever it touches, crossed into Leo for the first time in 12 years. The last time Jupiter stood in this part of the sky was 2014. Then, just days before this window opened, the Sun caught up to Jupiter and passed directly across it, their once-a-year meeting, landing this time in Leo, in an alignment old astrologers called Cazimi, in the heart of the Sun. The glow of a meeting like that doesn't switch off overnight. It lingers into these very days, which means the gate is opening while the Sun and the sky's greatest amplifier are still walking almost side by side through the lion's sign. And there is more. In late July, the lunar nodes, the 2 points in the sky where eclipses are born, shifted onto the Leo-Aquarius axis for the first time in almost 2 decades, which is why, just days after this portal peaks, the moon will slide precisely across the face of the sun at 20 degrees of Leo, a total solar eclipse, its shadow crossing Greenland, Iceland, and northern Spain, the first total eclipse visible from mainland Europe since 1999. So understand what this year's gate actually is. Not a room you step into and out of, a corridor. It opens on the return of a star and hands you directly onward toward an eclipse. Astrologers tend to read a sequence like this as a rare invitation to reset how you see yourself. You don't have to read it that way, but before you decide, let me show you what I think the number itself has been trying to tell you. Go back to the 8, 2 loops, 1 crossing point. Now consider a way of seeing it that you won't hear in most videos on this topic. Treat the upper loop as the world as it is. Events, people, facts, the things that happen whether you're watching or not. Treat the lower loop as the world as you picture it. Your interpretations, your stories, your predictions about how everything will go. Between them sits a single narrow point, where those 2 worlds actually touch. That point is your attention. It is the only place where reality and your picture of reality ever meet, and it is exactly as wide as this present moment. Most of the year, the loops drift along on their own momentum. The world does what it does, your story says what it says, and the crossing point stays narrow because nobody is minding it. A window like this one is a yearly invitation to stand at that crossing on purpose. The portal doesn't change your life. It changes your line of sight, and a changed line of sight, held long enough, tends to change everything downstream of it. So for the rest of this video, I'm going to hand you 6 specific ways to widen that crossing point while the gate is open. 6 vantage points, one at a time, each practical enough to use today. The first is altitude. A city looks like chaos from the street. Horns, crowds, motion without design. The same city, seen from a rooftop, resolves into pattern, avenues, districts, flows. Nothing about the city changed. Your altitude did. Somewhere in your life, there is a problem you've been standing inside of for months, circling it at street level. This week, deliberately climb. Ask the rooftop question. 5 years from now, what will have mattered about this? Not what stings today. What will have mattered? At street level, an unanswered message feels like an emergency. From altitude, it becomes a detail on one avenue of a very large map. Leo season with Jupiter in the sign tends to enlarge perspective for anyone willing to look up. The sky, in other words, is offering you the stairs, and whether you take them is entirely your call. If the 5-year question feels too abstract, borrow someone's eyes instead. Imagine the person who loves you most, looking at your situation from across the room. What would they notice that you, standing inside it, cannot? Borrowed altitude is still altitude, and sometimes it's the fastest staircase there is. Try this with one situation only. Altitude applied to everything at once turns into avoidance. Applied to one thing, it turns into wisdom. The second is the lens. You have never once seen your own lens. You have only ever seen through it. If the glass is tinted, the world looks tinted, and no amount of studying the world will reveal the tint. Only studying the glass will. Leo governs identity, and identity is largely a set of lenses. Quiet sentences like, "I'm always behind," or "people like me don't get chosen," or "it's too late to start over." Each one feels like a fact about the world. Each one is actually a piece of glass held up to it. Here's the exercise while the gate is open. Catch one conclusion you draw this week about your work, your worth, your future, and ask it a single question. Is this the picture, or is this the lens? You don't need to smash the glass or force some positive replacement over it. Simply seeing a lens as a lens loosens its grip, because a belief you can look at is no longer a belief you can only look through. That one quiet shift may rearrange more than 100 affirmations ever could. And if you catch nothing all week, notice what that means. The lens sitting closest to the eye is always the last one found. Keep looking. The search itself is already new sight. The third is glare. Sit with this detail. Sirius never left. The brightest star in our sky spent 70 days completely invisible, hidden not by darkness, but by light, outshone. That fact deserves a permanent place in how you understand your own life, because we tend to assume that the important things we've lost sight of are buried somewhere dark, when far more often they're standing in plain view, drowned out by whatever shines louder. The scroll of a feed, the urgency of other people's noise, the glare of being busy. So ask, what has your glare been hiding? A quieter ambition, a relationship that dims next to your schedule, a talent that made you feel alive at some earlier hour of your life. During this window, give yourself 1 hour of reduced brightness, no inputs, no screens, no soundtrack. Not to meditate, not to achieve anything, just to let your sky darken enough for the fainter lights to show. The star teaches the method perfectly. What has been outshone returns on its own the moment the glare drops. You don't have to go searching for it. You simply have to stop flooding it. Give the quiet one honest hour, and let the sky inside you do what the sky above you is doing this very week. The fourth is the crossing itself. Look at the figure 8 one more time and notice its geometry. Everything traveling from one loop to the other must pass through a single point. There is no second route. Your attention works exactly the same way. However rich the world is, and however vivid your inner picture, the two only exchange anything through the narrow gate of what you are attending to right now. And that gate does not get wider by being split. So here is the least glamorous practice in this entire video, and possibly the most powerful. While the portal is open, do one thing at a time, completely, at least once a day. Drink the whole cup of tea without a screen. Hear one person to the end of their sentence without composing your reply. Work for 20 minutes with everything else closed. Notice too what researchers call attention residue. Switch tasks mid-thought, and a film of the last task clings to the next one, so that nothing receives you whole. Splitting the crossing point doesn't double it, it smears it. One complete crossing once a day is worth more than 100 partial ones, and it costs you nothing but the willingness to be somewhere entirely. Contemplative traditions have called this presence. The geometry of the 8 calls it the crossing point, and every crossing you make deliberately trains the two loops of your life, the real and the imagined, to actually meet. People who practice this during focused windows often report that time itself seems to change texture. Nothing mystical explains why. You are finally standing where your life actually happens. The fifth is magnification. Jupiter's oldest meaning is the enlarger. Whatever it touches tends to grow. Astrologers watching this year's sky point out that with Jupiter moving through Leo, what gets enlarged is the territory of identity, confidence, creativity, visibility, the sense of what you're allowed to want. But here is the part that hands the power back to you. Within the architecture of your inner life, attention is Jupiter. Whatever you place at the crossing point gets magnified, fed, and built upon. And that holds for dread exactly as much as for possibility. Focus on the ways you've been overlooked, and the feeling of being overlooked expands until it furnishes the entire room. Focus on one genuine opening, a skill sharpening, a door standing ajar, a person who believes in you, and that expands instead. During an amplifying week, the choice of what to magnify matters more than usual. The way the choice of cargo matters more when the tide is rising. So choose consciously one thing that deserves enlargement. Name it in a single sentence. Return your attention to it daily, the way you would water something newly planted, and let the amplifier work on what you actually want grown. The sixth is the aperture. Days after the gate peaks, the moon will close over the sun, and for about 2 minutes along that northern path, day will narrow into darkness. People who have stood inside a total eclipse describe the same astonishment. In the middle of that brief darkness, stars appear. Not new stars, the ones that hang above every midday of your life, invisible only because the day outshines them. For 2 minutes, the sky proves that what you cannot see is still entirely there. Photographers know something useful about narrowing. Close the aperture and depth comes into focus. A wide-open lens sees everything softly. A narrowed one sees fewer things sharply. An eclipse, whatever else you believe about it, is the sky performing that gesture at planetary scale, and astrologers have long read total eclipses in Leo as moments when an outgrown version of the self gets switched off, so a truer one can finally be seen. Here's how to prepare, and notice that fear plays no part in it. Before the middle of the month, decide what you are finished looking at. Not finished fighting, not finished resenting, finished looking at. An old grievance you've reviewed 1,000 times. A version of yourself you keep performing because people learn to expect it. A tab that has stayed open in your mind for years. You can narrow your aperture by choice, or life will eventually narrow it by circumstance. And the stretch between this gate and that eclipse is a rare chance to do it by choice. Now bring the 6 together, because they were never 6 separate tricks. Altitude, lens, glare, crossing, magnification, aperture, every one of them is the same move made from a different angle, the deliberate adjustment of how you see. And that is exactly why this deserves more trust than any promise about wishes granted or fortunes delivered. Nothing here requires the sky to do you a favor. It requires you to spend one specific week. This week, while a returning star, an amplifying planet, and an approaching eclipse all point at the same sign. Practicing the one skill that reliably changes lives. Looking on purpose. Do that, and certain shifts tend to follow. Decisions that felt impossible often simplify, because altitude dissolves false emergencies. Confidence often steadies, because a named lens stops distorting. What matters most often returns, because the glare that hit it has finally dropped. None of this comes with a guarantee, and anyone who guarantees it is selling something. But all of it becomes more likely the moment you take the seeing into your own hands. One practical way to seal it. At the end of each day this week, write 3 lines on paper. What I saw from altitude, what lens I caught, what returned when the glare dropped. 21 lines by week's end. A small, dated record proving to your future self that this window was not a mood, but a practice. When the eclipse arrives and the season turns, you won't be wondering whether anything happened. You'll be holding the evidence in your own handwriting. So here is my invitation, and it is specific. Somewhere in the last 20 minutes, one of these 6 landed harder than the others. One vantage point your life has quietly been asking for. In the comments, write a single word, the thing you are choosing to see clearly while this gate stands open. Not a paragraph, one word, a name, a project, a quality, a truth. There is particular power in reducing an intention to a single word, because a single word fits through the crossing point. I read these, and a comment section filled with hundreds of chosen words becomes one of the most quietly moving things this channel produces all year. And if what you found here felt different from the noise, consider subscribing so the next real window in the sky reaches you in time. Everything made here is built from verified astronomy first and interpretation second, in that order, always. Before you go, hold the shape one last time. 2 circles, 1 crossing. The sky supplies the upper loop. The star will return whether you watch for it or not, and the eclipse will darken its narrow path whether you prepare or not. You supply the lower loop, and you hold the crossing. That is not a small role. It is the deciding one. The 8 will keep finding you this week. On the clock, on the receipt, in the corner of your eye. When it does, let it mean what it has always quietly meant. 2 worlds meeting at a single point, and you standing exactly there, choosing your vantage, choosing your focus, choosing what grows. Once a year, the sky spells it out. What you build at the crossing has always been yours to choose.